Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Coach Prime, the Colorado Buffaloes continue to do phenomenal work in the transfer portal, landing their second and third commitments of the day in defensive lineman Rayyan Buell coming from Ohio and offensive lineman Payton Kirkland coming from Texas. And the thing that stands out to me the most about what Coach Prime is doing in the transfer portal is the amount of quality depth that he's bringing into this program. And you go back to where Colorado might have struggled in 2023, not only the starters along the line of scrimmage, but the depth along the line of scrimmage just wasn't where it needed to be. You look at this program heading into 2024, the quality depth in the 2 and 3 deeps on both sides of the line of scrimmage is in a much better spot. And you talk about winning games late November, December, you have to have that depth along the line of scrimmage. I think Coach Prime has addressed it in a big time way over the last couple months. Want to get into Rayyan Buell, get into Payton Kirkland. We obviously talked about Dayon Hayes a little bit earlier this afternoon. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. Massive shout out to the Colorado fans. It has been an extremely busy last couple of days. Y'all know I love talking the transfer portal. Cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. One, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll continue to keep you guys as updated as possible with what this Colorado program is doing. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with defensive lineman Rayyan Buell coming over from Ohio. This was a guy that went the JUCO route, goes to Ohio, has a very productive year in 2023. And I'll be the first one to say this. Don't watch a ton of Ohio University football. Went back and watched a couple games of Rayyan Buell. And the thing that sticks out to me the most is the athleticism, the functional athleticism for that big of a body. This is a guy that plays that 3-tech position, a little bit undersized, but a guy that wins with his get off, with his speed, with his hand usage off the line of scrimmage. He's a penetrator. He's a guy that creates a lot of tackles for a loss, can give you that pass rush juice on the inside. I think the thing that stands out to me the most is not only did he play a ton for Ohio, this was a guy that against the run, his average depth of tackle was negative 0.1 yards down the field. What does that tell you about Rayyan Buell? That's a number that we always look at. He's a penetrator. He makes his plays behind the line of scrimmage, and that is something massive for this Colorado defense that at times, one, wasn't great against the run, but number two, struggled to create those negative plays with those guys on the defensive line. Rayyan Buell might not be a starter for this Colorado program, but you talk about those pass rush packages, that's where I think Rayyan Buell really is going to shine for Colorado. And you mentioned not necessarily a starter, but you talk about this kid being on your 2 or 3 deep on that defensive line. That's the quality depth we're talking about, right? Rayyan Buell was a guy that was coveted by a lot of Power 5 programs. He comes to Colorado, might not start for Colorado, but is a guy that when you're giving your ones a break, keeping them fresh, this is a guy that you can trust out there to create negative plays, to give you that pass rush juice on the inside. Again, hyper athletic interior defensive lineman that, although is undersized, makes up for it with his athleticism, how he uses his hands. Really big fan of this pickup. And then you go to Payton Kirkland. This is a classic bet on the traits of Payton Kirkland, right? 6'6", 360 pounds, was a very intriguing prospect coming out of high school in the state of Florida, where just a big body that needed to probably shed a little bit of weight, got to get that functional athleticism a little bit more there for the college football level. I think the good thing for Colorado is he spent his first year redshirting at Texas, getting that body right. And although probably does not start for Colorado on that offensive line in 2024, one, he's going to be a redshirt freshman. He has plenty of time within this Colorado program to become a starter. But more importantly, as a depth piece, this, again, you're feeling really good about Payton Kirkland being in your 2 deep on the offensive line, a guy that gives you that versatility. Certainly could play tackle with the size and frame that he has, but you talk about the size, kick him into guard, ask him to move some bodies off the line of scrimmage. I think he can do that as well. Having versatility on the offensive line is massive, and I think Payton Kirkland brings that to this Colorado program. At the end of the day, we say this a lot when evaluating prospects at the college football level. It's a height, weight, speed game. You want to bet on these kind of guys. And although Payton Kirkland, far from a finished product, a guy that you want to bet on that kind of size, that kind of functional athleticism, a couple years down the road, you could be talking about a very quality offensive lineman for this Colorado program. And something that I want to just quickly talk about is you pull up this Colorado depth chart specifically on the defensive line. And I know this depth chart not entirely accurate, but you take a look at what the defensive line looks like for this Colorado program, right? You're bringing a guy like BJ Green, who I believe is not even listed on this depth chart, and you start to say, Torian Carter, a guy that played significant snaps for Arkansas, coming over to Colorado, maybe not even going to be in your 2 deep, more of a rotational piece on the defensive line. This is kind of just showing the pure depth that this Colorado program has. You sprinkle in guys like Quincy Wiggins or Anquin Barnes, those super high upside prospects. You talk about guys like Chidozie on the inside. I look at this Colorado defensive line and say, I am extremely comfortable with about 3 deep on the defensive line. Going into 2023, you were probably comfortable with maybe 5 guys total on that defensive line. Now it's probably 9 or 10 guys. I think that really shows why this Colorado team can take a massive step in 2024. Coach Prime identified the weaknesses of this Colorado program and said, hey, we are going to address those in the transfer portal. And it's really hard to argue that they haven't addressed some of those needs in the transfer portal. 2 really intriguing commitments for Colorado. Again, we'll continue to cover it as it goes along. A couple big-time linebacker prospects that Colorado is going after as well. We'll keep you guys updated. Wanted to hop on, talk about the new additions for this Colorado program. Appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. Again, if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.